Thank you all for being here. I know Sandra would be very surprised to see so many people here, especially from such a wide span in her life and for all over the country. It's an impossible task to have an adequate tribute to such a short time to somebody, never mind your wife of 33 years, and even to someone as truly unforgettable as Sandra. And as most of you here know, unforgettable she was. So please forgive my haste as I may have to race through some of this and share something of the amazing woman I met 34 years ago. We had our first date months later. We lived together a week later, and we were married a year later. But what was important to Sandra? Her faith, her family, and her friends. Whilst her faith faltered and she often had a difficult time with it, it was a simple, enduring faith, finally strengthened in the last period of her life, even if it did not appear front and center. She had a childlike faith in the sufficiency of God's grace and was typical of her straightforward manner. She knew each and every blessing was a gift of God, and this is why her prayers were so full of thankfulness, sincere gratitude for each day and every blessing, no matter how small. Her family. She loved her family more than they can know. And to try and make their lives a little bit better and especially more joyful, Mum, she used to love doing all the girly things with you that you could not do in the household of men. Picking clothes and colour schemes and jewellery and even making it for you like you have on today. Go shopping with you and say, get it, go on Mum, get it. A sneaky brandy and ginger and giggling your way when you used to call me. Your morning chats and your crosswords. And Dad, she absolutely loved her football adventures all over the country with you and the Jills, as well as regular chats about football and sorting out the world's problems. Robert, she loved the challenge of trying to beat you at Sherlock or Scrabble, or challenge of recreating a recipe from a celebrity chef just to make for you. She loved her family time together, playing games filled with banter and laughter, organising your big birthdays and anniversaries, adding her special little creative touches like Christmas barbecues, chocolate surprises, handmade cards, special jewellery, knitted figures. She loved to help with the RAF 83rd entry menus and reunions, the LPAs, chasing that crook Rowledge all over the world to try and get your money back. And she recently, as you said recently, Dad, when Sandra accepted the challenge, it was game on. To her friends, her true friends were very, very precious to her. It's a testament to her character and that her best and closest friends all came with widely diverse personalities and opinions. Many, if not most, not even her own. In fact, she would prefer to differ even profoundly, but know that the friendship was real and based on mutual respect and loyalty. Phony was something she was definitely not fond of. For fear of missing anyone out, I have been absolutely inundated with help and support from all over the world. So I can't name any, except there are a handful, all so different, who provided her with a wide variety of places to go, a source of refuge, a sounding board for her fears, a safe place to vent, a sustaining and support and encouragement, and so much more. And you know who you are, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a faithful friend. And now you've been so good and special to me too. Who was Sandra? She was a complex, often contradictory person. She was vulnerable and easily hurt, but sometimes totally immovable. She was caring and creative. She loved crafting, as you know, not just to use her gifts, but mostly because she loved the outcome. She loved to make people feel good. Many of you here have her creations on, and even some of you today are wearing them. She had a beautiful and mischievous smile. She was generous and charitable with her family and friends, and also the causes that you will see on your order of service. She was also a crusader with a deep-seated sense of justice. She said nothing has ever changed for the better by virtue signalling on social media or being silent. You only have to ask her MP. She must be the only constituent who ever emailed him daily with evidence that he denied was real until he was forced to admit it. In fact, she joked he was her biggest pen pal. She loved banter and a good belly laugh. She loved the sunshine and barbecues and socialising with friends and family. She was hospitable and loved to cook new things. She loved engaging in conversation. Oh, she loved it, to challenge and to be challenged. She could be disarmingly forthright and honest and blunt and frank, as some of you well know, especially if you were special enough to her for a let's have a walk or chat. You know the sort. Now you know I love you, but I just want you to not interrupt me and listen until I finished kind of chat. Such chats, I can tell you, restored and fortified many enduring friendships because people appreciated Sandra, loved them enough to be honest and not pretend, but to actually try and fix things. She had the courage of her convictions. She was willing to stand alone. We saw that with the whole situation with COVID, where literally she stood against the world and even her family and friends sometimes. And believe me, that takes courage. And she was right. I cannot think of a single thing she questioned that didn't prove correct. But what I want to finish with is her fortitude. Despite being let down repeatedly by health services, the chemo, the vomiting, the diarrhea, the fatigue, the brain fog, the chronic and persistent pain, the never-ending hospital appointments, A&E visits, you know what I mean? Ascetic drains of up to 10 litres at a time every few weeks, her muscles mass wasting away with cachexia. She never, ever, ever wanted her life to be defined by illness. She often said, life with cancer is still a life. And she used to say, when I wake up each morning, I have no idea whether I'll make it to the end of the day, but neither do you. And indeed, that's true of us here today. None of us do. Here was a typical message to one of her special friends. I am indeed smiling. Even on the worst of days, I'm thankful at least to have that day. And there are many more. Listen, I don't want to distress anyone unnecessarily either, but I shall never ever forget her painful eyes, looking up at me with these paper-thin arms raised like a child to help her up from her bed. And she's apologizing to me, saying, Baba, I'm so sorry. And you see, that is what epitomizes the depth of caring and the breadth of thoughtfulness of this absolutely amazing and resilient woman. Always thinking of other people despite her suffering and pain. Always deeply thankful and sincerely grateful for the smallest of mercies. Mercies I suspect each one of us today take for granted each and every day. And to close, when Jesus was asked in Matthew 22 what was the greatest commandment, he sums up the purpose of life well. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. Sandra wanted this to be the central lesson to take away from her life today. That life is not about money, possessions, beauty, influence, popularity, pleasure, entertainment. It's about relationships. It's upwards towards God and then it's around towards others. That life really is precious, but life is also like a vapor, here today and gone tomorrow. Therefore, she'll tell you, don't be forever waiting for the right time or the circumstances to do something. Whatever needs to be done, whatever needs to be said, whatever needs to be repented of, whatever needs to be forgiven, whatever needs to be forgotten, whatever needs to be restored, Sandra says, do it now. And for those of you who know her, you better do it now. My precious sweet pea, many circumstances, some people conspired against us, but they all failed. It was an honor and a privilege to have you as my helpmate, making an often difficult life meaningful and worthwhile. Thank you for steadfastly sticking with me despite my considerable shortcomings. Thank you for the laughter, tears, love, care, support. I would never want to done it with anyone else. I rest today in the sustaining hope that my faith was a shared faith, and that means one day we will both stand before the judgment seat of Almighty God, forgiven and clothed in the righteousness of Christ. Somebody said to me the other day, you must feel like a piece of you missing. I said, no, it's like there's hardly any left. I feel totally empty without her, but I'm ever thankful and privileged that the Lord put people from different continents, different cultures, completely different personalities together. And I'll love you forever. Bye-bye.